Well, good afternoon, everybody. Eric Auger with American Business Systems here for you this afternoon. I hope you're ready for spending the next hour with me or less. This is one of my favorite topics that we do get to discuss with you because it really gets down to the heart of why we do what we do. I mean, obviously, if there were no doctors that needed medical billing, there would be no need for a medical billing business opportunity. So, folks, just if you'll get ready to spend the next 35, 40 minutes with me, we're going to go through a lot of information. It's going to be, there's basically three topics in this, three top reasons why a doctor would outsource their billing, but there's pieces inside of it. So we're going to try to do our best to kind of go through that this afternoon. So I hope that you're doing well. Folks, if you cannot believe, we've already completed the first quarter of 2025. Can you believe it? This is amazing how quickly this year is going by. And so here we are, the first part of April. And this month, if you'll notice in your calendar, there are actually going to be 5 Wednesdays to this month. So we're going to try to do what we can to load you up this April with some wonderful topics as we kind of go forward. Again, if you're just now joining us here, we're going to be talking about what are the top reasons a doctor would outsource their billing. Now, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm going to show you where the question and answer box is. It's right there. If you don't mind, if you would please go ahead and just type in where you're located. That helps me. Does a couple things for me. Make sure that my microphone's coming through okay. But then also, I want to make sure, I love just to hear where everybody's calling in from this afternoon. So if you don't mind, check that out there for me. I would appreciate it. All right. My name again is Eric Auger. I'll be your host this afternoon, and I look forward to spending the afternoon with you. Today, again, the topic is going to be what are the top reasons a doctor would outsource their billing? Okay, so if you're looking to get involved here today, you're going to want to know this question. Okay, Lanny from Cleburne, Texas. Man, you are my next door neighbor. Uh, Man, I'm just up here in North Fort Worth area. If you know where Lake Worth is, you'll know exactly where I am. So I'm up in that area up over there. So thank you so much for piping in there. Frederick, tell me where you're from. Ahmad, Abishka, Shirley, Sharia. Let's see who else we've got over here. Some other folks are coming in. I see that. So Ahmad is from Woodbridge, Virginia. Good to see you this afternoon. Folks, we're going to have a lot of content. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. One of the things I'd like to do is introduce you to who our CEO is here at American Business Systems. His name's Adam Phillips. Adam is written several books, as you can see here. 9 Ways Doctors Let Money Slip Through Their Fingers. He is also a contributing editor towards the magazine Ability and Coding Advantage magazine. He's written several articles in there. So you might want to go check him out. If you're working with a specific sales rep here, go and ask them for a PDF of a few of the articles that Adam's already written. He is also the founder of an organization called MIRMA. MIRMA is the Medical Management Association of America. It is this group here that will certify you as a certified medical revenue manager. And once you're completed with that, then you will become part of the nation's largest network of independent medical billing companies. That's correct. So we are here to get you plugged in as best as we can. All right, so let's just jump right on in here. It looks like we got some other folks that'll be joining us here. Got some more people that are coming in. And let this go to the voicemail there. All right, so folks, let me just kind of walk you through this over the next few minutes here. And again, if you've got any particular questions, feel free to pipe those into the Q&A box so you already know where those are. I'm already going to just let everybody let me know here there, and we'll take care of that here. Okay, so let's talk about what are the top reasons a doctor would outsource their billing. Number one, I've chosen here to talk about today is navigating the healthcare landscape. Folks, if you don't understand everything that's going on with what doctors are faced with, it is tremendous And it is can be a little arduous here, as you can imagine, walking through this landscape. Frederick's from San Diego. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else that want to pipe in there, just let me know where you're calling in from. All right, so that's number one. That'll be the one of the first things we'll talk about in the healthcare landscape here. The second thing is compliance and risk management. So you might want to take some notes here, folks, if you'd like to, and just write these down. I'll make sure that you got plenty of time to write this down. Or once I get this third one up here, you can just take a quick screenshot of it. If you can't get all of this and you're not able to take a screenshot or even take notes, simply get back with your sales rep here and ask them for the entire slide deck of today. We'll get you a copy of that. So first of all is navigating the healthcare landscape. Number two, compliance and risk mitigation. And then the last one is financial impact, improved revenue cycle management. Okay, so those are the big reasons why a doctor should outsource their billing. Number one, because as an outsourced medical billing company, especially for that first one, navigating the healthcare landscape, we're always involved in what's going on, especially here at American Business Systems. Just to kind of let you get a little taste of it, come this next Friday, we're actually going to be doing a webinar for our billing companies only, our business owners here at American Business Systems, giving them new information about what's going on in the healthcare landscape, and then new ways to actually integrate and work with new doctors as we're always building our business platform here. And then compliance and risk mitigation. This is all about management of things that are happening with inside those four walls. And again, being a medical billing company owner here with us here at American Business Systems, we're going to pump you all the information after you join us here. Again, we have support that's going to be able to deliver information to you on a regular basis with all the new updates and whatever else is going on. So you never feel like you're alone out there. And then lastly, the last reason is obviously to bring a financial impact to the bottom line of a doctor's office. They need to improve their revenue cycle management. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. So let's get on that first one here. Let's talk about navigating the healthcare landscape. If you think about it, folks, getting into this business here can be a little scary with gosh, do I have to know, do I wanted to start this business, do I have to know every little jot and tittle about what's going on in the healthcare industry? And you don't. That's why we're here. We're here to support you. And that's why we've got our Facebook page that goes out directly to all of our current business owners out here at American Business Systems. We keep them up with the latest data and information, things that are coming down, what we kind of say, coming down the pike. And we want to make sure that we give you all the information. So because in doctor's offices, there is no way, even with a doctor's office staff member that might be doing their billing, can keep up with all this information. You do need a team of people and resources, and ABS has that. So you might be, first of all, asking you a question: why would I want to join American Business Systems? Can I go start a medical billing company on my own? And you certainly can. But what you're going to miss out is this back end support, or this, what we call that back office support, because we're going to deliver all of this information, and it's going to be helpful for you as you start giving this information to your doctors. Okay, so let's talk real quickly about one of the first things that doctors have to navigate when they are dealing with the healthcare landscape. Number one, evolving regulations. Folks, if you can see what's happening just really on the federal level right now, you can see that things are changing and changing rapidly. Whether we like them or not, things are changing. And so again, with the increasing complexity in medical billing compliance, these doctors have to keep up with it. If they don't have a specific group of what we call revenue cycle specialists, that's what you would be, with all the latest information and news that might be coming down from a federal level, because if you don't recognize this, that most of all the codes that we deal with are driven by Medicare, whether it, Aetna's taken that specific code or not, all of the codes are driven by Medicare. And so, with any changes that happen with extra codes that need to go with another code and all of that information, that all gets filtered from CMS and then gets delivered and disseminated. Now, imagine a doctor's office that has one person doing the billing. Now, just doing the billing alone, it can be tough, especially in a doctor's office. That's why if the doctor can get it outsourced, they know that they're dealing with somebody who is not going to be distracted by the traffic that's happening directly in that doctor's office. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through the day, but I just want to let you know that there's a lot of disruptions that happen within a doctor's office that peels that medical billing employee away from their jobs, and then they still not being able to keep up with all the information there. The second thing is the rising cost. What do I mean by rising cost? Just the administrative burden of impacting the practice profitability. What I mean by that is you would not realize how often a biller at a specific doctor's office will leave that office for another 50 cents or more per hour to do that same work. Now, folks, you got to understand, there is really no incentive for that medical biller that works in that doctor's office outside of a paycheck. Whereas with you being an outsourced medical billing company, you don't get paid unless the doctor gets paid. So making that transition for a doctor to understand, and most doctors understand this, but they feel like sometimes it might be a little bit higher risk, so they might feel like, well, let me just take a little bit more money because I can have more control. And that's not the case either. If you listen to the interview that we did last week, you will find out that doctors, once they get in a rhythm with this, they're actually getting better information, weekly, if not daily reporting back to them on everything that's going on for them. So rising cost is number one or number two in this whole thing about landscape. Number three, shifting focus, an emphasis on value-based care and patient outcomes. Now, I'm going to talk with you real quickly about what it means about value-based care. So let's just, I'm going to shrink down what this big monster out there of what is being driven in the whole medical billing world to something very simplistic. All right, so it has been for a long time doing billing what's called a fee for service. That means if I go see the doctor for a specific cough or hangnail or whatever it may be, there is a specific code that goes along with that. And then there's two codes. There's what's called the diagnosis code and then the procedure code. That procedure code is what the doctors get paid on. That's what's called a fee for service. So if they're seeing me for a cough, they're going to get paid for that part of it. Now, what's happening though, and this is going to be the way in which it will go from here on out. Insurance companies and Medicare alike are looking for doctors and groups of doctors to do more of a patient outcome. Can they manage that patient's care better if they do better work and keep everything kind of centralized? So this is a wonderful time to keep everything centralized because you can be able to share with your doctors. This is what our organization that you're a part of is really focusing on. So let's really talk real quickly. What is value-based care? Value-based care is a healthcare delivery model that rewards physicians based on patient outcomes. That's just what it is. The better that the more that they can keep that patient out of the hospital or out of other facilities, and they're focusing on that patient's care, the doctors actually get rewarded on their savings, the savings that are being made through Medicare. So it encourages physicians to really prioritize the quality of service they provide to each patient rather than the quantity. Okay, so you hear that? Now, this is very key when we're doing our medical billing, because right now there's a lot of doctors who are in burnout. Okay. If you've heard my interviews that I've had with Dr. Vicki Rackner in the past, she always talks about doctor burnout. Matter of fact, I just recently spoke with a physician, a provider here recently, that she too was experiencing some burnout and needed some time off. And so that's what doctors do at times. And then they just said, look, let me just get out of it for a little bit, and then I'll hop back in and just kind of get my head cleared, because they know that the quality of care they're not able to give because they're so worried about their revenue, folks. This is why it's so difficult. I mean, you can see the picture of this doctor right here, just contemplating, gosh, how, and promise you, there have been doctors that are trying to figure out, how am I even going to make payroll this month? Um, there's when claims go out, sometimes claims are going to get delayed because there may be an error, or a claim gets denied, and then somebody needs to reprocess that. If that's happening within a doctor's office, they may or may not ever get to that. Now, remember, for that medical biller, that employee that works at that doctor's office, outside of a paycheck, there's really no incentive to get that claim refiled and getting that doctor paid. Uh, they might get a pat on the back from the doctor, but they're not incentivized to make sure that every dollar counts. That's unlike you as an independent medical billing company that says, you know what, doctor, if you give me 100 claims, I am going to darn sure figure out a way to get all those 100 claims paid. If there's one of those 100 claims that gets denied, I'm going to work that claim until it gets paid. That's the difference. What happens is, when a doctor shifts their focus of getting that billing company out of their office, and they let it go outsource somewhere else, they get better results. And then what that it does in return, it provides them a platform to provide this quality of service to their patients. Lastly, the value-based care model is proactive instead of reactive. So they're keeping up with these patients there. So they're doing a lot now with devices called remote patient monitoring devices. Now, one of the great things here at American Business Systems, you are able to offer those services. That's right. You're not here just doing medical billing. We have services that are going to help doctors achieve these value-based care models. Okay. So if you don't know much about the remote patient monitoring, make sure that you check back with your sales rep and ask them about the virtual care services that we have. Simply, folks, what it is it's blood pressure devices, scales, pulse oximeters, even glucometers to check blood sugar. And if the patient will just monitor their weight or blood pressure or their blood sugar with these particular devices, once the reading happens on that particular device, it actually gets sent directly to a platform via a cell service like Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile, whichever tower's next is closest. That device picks up that signal and then transmits those readings to a specific platform. And if they're out of range, so to say, let's say that somebody's blood pressure's up one day, that will alert the doctor's office to let them be more proactive and they can have more of a telemed visit and working with that patient instead of that patient having to go back in. So let's talk real quickly about some challenges that doctors are faced with this whole value-based thing here. Number one, there's complex reporting requirements, which increase administrative costs. Now, again, folks, this is coming down, so we need to make this road as easy as possible for these doctors. Number two, delayed payments due to outcome measurement periods. So the way in which they get paid in like quarters instead of every month. So because remember, it's based upon savings and not fee for service. And again, folks, this is coming down. So the better that we can help the doctors get paid on the front end of processing their claims, and then helping them and showing them with our reporting mechanisms, showing back to Medicare and whoever it might else be out there, the reports that need to happen, we're going to be able to help these doctors achieve even greater reimbursements. And then the financial risk for poor outcomes, even if it's outside the doctor's control. And that's what happens many times. Things happen. Obviously, they get sicker patients, and it seems like we are sicker here in America than any other country in the world, it seems like, and we've got this high-tech healthcare system. And so, folks, these are some of the issues that I want to encourage you to really kind of get wrapped around, but don't let this make you fear anything. We have all of this information. Remember, we are your back office. We're pumping you back with this information, just like what we're doing today. So that's number one. Is the big challenge there is basically just kind of navigating the healthcare landscape. And listen, I'm telling you, doctors need somebody that they can trust to get that billing outsourced out of their office there. That's the biggest thing. All right, number two. Number two, is one of the top reasons the doctors would outsource their billing is compliance and risk mitigation. All right, so let's talk about compliance. Compliance happens every single day. Every day. There are things that get slipped through the cracks on compliance all the time. Fortunately, many of them are never brought up. But listen, the doctors, if there's one of the areas that's probably one of the doctor's weakest links in a doctor's office, it is compliance. And what they need a compliance expert. They need someone that knows what's going on before something happens. Because again, HIPAA compliancy rules change. They get tightened up a little bit. And how does this happen? It's because somebody's information got out there, and then they need to figure out how to not necessarily just penalize the doctor, but they're trying to figure out, doctors, what can we do to help mitigate or reduce the risk on those things happening? So every year, a doctor needs to go through a compliance and risk mitigation overhaul, basically, or review. Now, one of our services that we have actually does that, and that's Compliancy Guard. Compliancy Guard will help these doctors stay ahead of anything that's happening in the healthcare regulations. They're not going to have to wonder or be concerned about it, because we would already work that doctors through with certain things that will help the doctor make sure that they are not missing, and they've got their entire staff trained. Because folks, again, remember I mentioned earlier, what happens when a biller from a doctor's office moves, or they take another job somewhere else? Well, guess what? They know all the passwords. They know all the things. They probably have keys to the office. And they just know things. Sometimes the passwords are never changed after an employee leaves. Sometimes locks never get changed after an employee leaves. The other little thing that happens a lot of are these little things here. These iPhones or Android phones are all over the place, and unfortunately, people are on there during work hours, whether it's Facebook or taking pictures of this, that, and the other, and somehow, some way, inadvertently, a photo of a chart gets posted on a Facebook page, and all of a sudden, the doctors are having to deal with compliance and risk issues, because the data security doesn't just happen within the systems. It happens globally within that doctor's office. But we have ways in which we can help protect the patient's information through a HIPAA compliancy, through Compliancy Guard. And then lastly, this helps reduce risk. And that's where this will help minimize billing errors and audit issues and anything else that might come along with it. So again, as I mentioned earlier, we have a full part of what you're able to provide for these doctors. And folks, let me share with you. Now, this webinar today is not necessarily about how to get a doctor, but if you'll just give me just a couple of minutes, let me share with you how, whenever I ran my billing companies, how I was able to get in front of a doctor's office and talk with doctors specifically about their billing. And it all started with Compliancy Guard. This is how I would do it. I would I would make sure I had my business cards. Sometimes I would have these flyers if I felt necessary to drop those off. But many times, what I would do, I would walk into a doctor's office or call the doctor's office and simply ask them to talk to the compliancy officer. Now, you may not know this, but the doctor's office and that office manager knows this, is that according to the rules and regulations for HIPAA, every doctor's office needs an assigned compliancy officer. Okay, so you can see here, I'm not asking to talk to the doctor. I'm not even asking to talk to the office manager. I'm here to talk to the compliancy officer. 9 out of 10 times, I got somebody on the phone. Sometimes it could be the doctor, sometimes it could be the office manager. But I did get contact, even if I had to leave a message, I would find out who is this person that is the compliance officer for Dr. Smith's office. That helped me gather information that I needed to do because a lot of times what I would do, I would simply do a webinar on the new information on HIPAA compliancy. Because what I would do, I would make sure that those folks got an email from me specifically on compliancy issues and HIPAA regulation issues, knowing that they are the HIPAA, the compliancy officer, and this is information that they need to know. I'm not asking them for any money. I just want to get them information. Then I would do a webinar. And then out of that, many times I was able to be invited into the office to talk with them a little bit more. And what it would lead to eventually, as you'll see here in just a moment, it led to what's called a practice analysis. Because if they've got some trouble with their HIPAA compliancy, there may be some other issues, some other gaps there. So the practice analysis that we're going to teach you and show you how to do sets you up to be able to get that doctor's billing. So did y'all hear how all that worked? Listen, all I want to do, Mr. or Mrs. Doctor's office, I just want to find out who your office, your compliancy officer here is at the office. I've got some new updated information from HIPAA that I think they're going to want to get. That always got me into the door. I never had to be worried about whether I'm going to be have a door slammed on me or go, oh no, thanks, we gave it the office. And it made me not even feel like I was doing quote unquote cold calling. I was actually providing information to a lot of healthcare people. And again, as you'll learn through our marketing parts of what we do, this is going to give you information just like this to share at networking meetings like Chamber of Commerce's, like we talked about last week during our interview. Maybe even in a BNI meeting, we're going to show you how to be able to do that. Because I promise you, somebody's going to know, oh man, I know a doctor you need to talk with because it just happened to them. That's how we're able to do this. Okay, number 3. Operational efficiency, focus on care. You know, specifically, whenever I was actually trying to find a photograph for this part of it, I couldn't find anything better than this one here, because this is what we want. We want our doctors to be upbeat and happy as much as they can, even at the end of their day, and not worried about how they're going to get paid. Because what happens is if they're worried about how to keep the lights on, or they're thinking about, gosh, whenever I get through with this week, I know payroll's coming up, and I've checked with our biller, money's not in the bank, it's just not flowing as it's supposed to be. Do you really think they're going to give the care to their patients as they should? No, nobody would. I mean, think about it. Whenever you've had hard times financially, you can't hardly think of anything else about trying to figure out how I'm going to make sure I'm going to keep the lights on at the house, or feed the kids, or making sure I've got enough fuel in my tank to get to work. You know, these are the same things that doctors go through. And imagine they're trying to take care of 30 to 45 people a day. They're all coming in with problems. So you can imagine the stress that happens on doctors there. So what we want to do, we want to remove that big burden off of them and get expert billing get that billing outside and put it in the hands of the experts where it needs to be, which is an outsourced billing company. These are going to be your dedicated professionals that this is all they do. All they do is revenue cycle management. So folks, listen, you're asking me, or you've asked your sales rep here, why in the world would a doctor ever want to get their billing out of their office? This is probably the main one. Why? I want to tell you why. Because it goes back, I'm going to show back over here. It goes back to this part right here, this value-based care. Folks, this is coming on them like a freight train. And they may or may not be ready for that. We want to get those doctors set up for success and making sure that they can get that and deliver that type of care and get this billing off of their minds and whether they're going to get paid or not. Okay. The other part of it is we have what we call cutting edge billing software and tools. Now, the great thing about it is here at American Business Systems, we're not so worried about whether we build a piece of software. What we have done, we collectively got our billing technology partners that come from the top groups out there already, and they partner with us because they know the more clientele that they can get on these platforms, the more money that they actually make. And it's the same thing with here. We know that when we can get more patients on there and help you get that, because of the relationship that we have with those technology partners, they're actually paying American Business Systems on the back end because we've brought them business, guess what, through you, which means that you're not having to really pay for the software in the first place. We're going to have the doctors pay for software anyway. We're going to just transfer them paying for their current software to this particular software. And it's not even software sales. So let me kind of pause that because everybody probably just went, uh-oh, now we're going to have to sell a piece of software. And that's not what we're in about. If you'll go back and listen to the interview that we did just last week, a lot, and not just this one, but even 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did another interview with someone else. There's only a small portion of folks that will actually utilize what you would call your software. But we're going to show you how to even use the doctor's software and increase revenue, okay? So don't worry about whether you're going to have to sell the doctor a piece of software just so that you can get their billing. We're just saying that if we can, over time, build some trust with these doctors, say, doctor, you know what, I've been working your system here for the last 6 months. And, you know, collectively, I know that we've increased your return, your revenue, probably about 8 to 10%. But I know for a fact, if we can get you out of this old clunky piece of software, get to the one that I would suggest, and one of the ones that we looked at early on, if you remember, we looked at iClaim Doctor. I know for a fact we can get you up in the upper double digits of getting your revenue increase there. Because if you recall, one of the things we did, doctor, we did a practice analysis based upon the performance of what we're able to do with some of our technical software. Now, again, what a great thing this is now is that there are a lot of artificial intelligence technology built inside of our software that's actually helping that to increase as well. So there is a great deal of advantages of eventually getting these doctors to use the iClaim platform. But I want to make sure that those that are on the call today won't go back to their sales rep here at American Business Systems thinking, oh my goodness, Eric just said that I'm going to have to sell a piece of software. And that's not it. We're here to help you get the business and then share the tools in which the doctors might want to take advantage of. Our number one goal for you is for you to help get a client. We're going to show up and be right next side by side with you. We're going to make sure that you have all of the tools that you need to present to the doctor with the practice analysis and then the practice analysis report. All of that will come together. Then lastly, on focus on care, and that's the reduced burden and freeing up that doctor's medical staff, not their medical billing staff, but their medical staffs, to focus on a collective group on patient care. This is what we're achieving here for this doctor. Again, it's all going back to that value-based care. So folks, let me make it simple. If we can get the doctors billing out of their office, it's going to set them up for success on value-based care. These are the results that are going to happen. iClaim and EMRX have all the processes there in which we will be able to accomplish that big time for these doctors here. So this is a main reason why we want to get that billing out of that doctor's office. And if we can, we will put them on our platform and then be able to show them and even have them have reports at their fingertips. If they want to run their own reports, we can show them how to do that. Listen, folks, it's, it really does get down to this, and I'm going to kind of take a little side trail here. A lot of people have asked me over the years, hey, Eric, whether they're asking me or Patrick or Adam or Jason or anybody else here at American Business Systems, why, again, would a doctor ever want to outsource their billing? And can I make it out there? We feel like you can, because first of all, we know that there's a need. Folks, we've been at this for over 30 years at doing this. We understand that not everybody comes to wanting to own their own medical billing business. We know that marketing may be your weakest point. Some of you, it may be your strongest point. But either way, whether it's your strongest or your weakest point, we're here to help you through that. And the whole reason of what I'm sharing all this reason with you right now is because this business, just as much as what we're talking with you about and what the same thing that you're going to be talking with your doctors about, is a relationship business. You will not find a more successful, more gratifying type of business to be in than one that's built upon relationship. And that's why a lot of people ask, well, what's the easiest way for me to get my client here? Can I just put up a website? Can I do some marketing through social media? Because I'm really not good. I'm really not good at getting out in front of people. We're going to teach you how to get good and get in front of people. Matter of fact, Patrick Phillips wrote a book on that very thing. Changing how you think. So you might want to see about getting back with your sales rep and figure out how to get a copy of Patrick's book on that. Rethinking yourself for success. So, folks, these are the things that we're here to help you, whether you purchase from us or not. Okay, whether you purchase us or invest with us or join us here or not, folks. So I know personally that a lot of you out there probably think that you can't do this because you're talking yourself out of that. You already know that you're here today because you know you need to change something. You're just trying to figure out which vehicle to take. And it could be flipping burgers. It could be making sandwiches. It could be, starting up a car wash, or it could be in a great business relationship in healthcare that's built around revenue cycle management. Folks, this is going to be here for a long time, and we're excited about being a part of it. Lastly, the financial impact, the improved revenue cycle management. Okay, so let's talk about that real quickly, and then we're going to move on. The number one thing about helping these doctors is if getting that billing out of their office is cost savings. Yes, a major cost savings. You can imagine having a full-time employee there at that office, and I'm going to share with you a little bit what that looks like there in just a moment. But there is a cost just for the people. And if you can get that billing outside of that office, the doctors are going to find out that their bottom line of their cost savings actually increase. And sometimes somebody that they were having to do their billing probably can just stay on and help see more patients in a more streamlined way. So these are some of the ways of cost savings, just reduce overhead and staff expenses. Number two, streamline claims. Get claims out faster. Listen, one of the great things about the iClaim system is if they're using iClaim and EMRX, once that doctor gets through with charting in EMRX, it's already there for you to do the billing. Literally, doctors can see their 30, 40 patients today. By this afternoon, they're already submitted. That's how fast a claim can get submitted with our system. Now, can you do that with some of the doctor's software? Maybe. And so what we'll do, we will investigate that with you. So no matter what billing platform that you may be faced with a specific doctor, don't worry about it. We've seen it. Everybody over here has seen it. So we will certainly be able to help you out to make sure that you streamline those out. And then enhance collections. So not only is there the submission of the claims, there's the actually collection of the claims. And And getting that, imagine all of that happening within a doctor's office with all the other things that happen, the dynamics that happen in a doctor's office. This is why doctors want to outsource their billing. Here's a little chart here, and I'm not going to go through it number by number, but you can see on the column there where it says in-house, that means that's what it's costing a doctor to do billing in-house. We've tried to calculate just about all of the money that goes out. So whenever we say a cost savings, getting that out or eliminated from the doctor's office alone could save about just a little over $35,000 a year in expenses, and make sure that that not only gets in the positive, but getting it outsourced, spending $54,000 and then sometimes doubling the revenue, that's a real savings. So whenever you're thinking about, gosh, do I have to sell the doctor on my software or anything else? No, what we want you to do is that we're in the revenue cycle billing business. We are trying to get those doctors more money, not less money. Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap it up here with the ABS how to success, how to get to those areas of where we can help that doctor change. Cost benefits analysis is what we're going to work on right here. There is a average claims reduction by simply utilizing our platform. We can help those doctors reduce their claims by less than 2% on claims rejected. Okay. Many times, including utilizing the doctor's same software. It doesn't matter. We're here to help them with that. We can get that done. An overall ROI increase, boosting their revenue and profitability through efficient billing. There's always a disruption whenever a doctor changes doing billing. So sometimes whenever you're going in there, a lot of times you're just working and making sure that you're just trying to probably fix a lot of things there. And whatever I told a lot of my doctors, don't expect an immediate fix. Now, there could be some that could be immediate, but don't expect it just right at the beginning, because there's a lot of things I may have to fix over time. What we want to be able to do is let's give it a good 30 to 60 to 90 days. Now, interesting enough, the lady that we interviewed, one of our business owners that we interviewed just last week, she actually proposed to a doctor by doing the billing for free or at no cost for 30 days. It's almost like kind of like a trial, but what she's saying, like, look, if I can't do what I promised saying in the first 30 days, I don't want you to have to pay me. Now, that's a pretty good deal if you think about it. But I tell you what, she's got her percentages set high enough that she's going to make that up in the first 2 to 3 months of billing anyway. So then lastly, improve patient satisfaction. Again, all driving to that value-based part of where everything's going in the first place. Those outsourcing can improve patient outcomes and satisfactions, because guess what? If you haven't noticed, you can actually go on the internet just about anywhere and type in a doctor, and some of the things you're going to find out there are their ratings, their star ratings. How well are they performing out there? That gets around. Doctors that don't perform well, guess what? They don't have a lot of patients. Doctors that perform well, they have satisfied patients, and they probably have a successful office and revenue cycle management group there. Now, here's the practice analysis questionnaire, like I mentioned to you earlier. We're going to teach this to you. Matter of fact, when you get through training, you'll probably almost have this memorized, because what this is going to do is going to set you up to collect that data. Now, if you recall, remember how I told you we're going to teach you how to get to this position here? Remember, I use the compliancy guard. That was one of the ways that I like to introduce myself, because it didn't seem too threatening to the doctor's office at first. Whenever I've come to help them tighten up their HIPAA compliancy, I'd rather go in there with that and then lead in after building some relationship with those folks, and then say, you know what? One of the other things that I love doing, since I've been able to give you some of this information, if you'd give me the opportunity, I'd love to do what's called a practice analysis. Our company will do that for you at no cost, and then really truly no obligation. And within about a week or so, I'll come back and I'll give you some information. That information is this information right here. It's called a practice analysis report. This is actually a report that's been done. This was conducted a few years back with a doctor here up in the Dallas area. And it doesn't have to be just the Dallas area. It could be, Timbuktu or wherever you're located. But really what we're going to be collecting is just basic information. So doctor's office manager, how many number of patients does a doctor see in a month? Which means how many claims are being processed monthly? What's the average collection amount? Now, this is kind of low. It's at $100. It's usually about 120 to 150. I know that whenever I go to the doctor, it's still 125 to 150 because I pay for it out of my own pocket. And that's the cash base rate. Now, whenever it gets billed, it's actually billed a little bit higher because every insurance company will do their adjudications based upon how the arrangements, the credentialing that the doctor went through with all that. Then you're going to collect one piece of information that's really going to be the telltale of how everything else comes about. Do they know the approximate rejected rate, their rejected rate, or their uncollected claim rate? They may or may not know that. If they don't know it, then I always use the national average, about 15 to 18%. Now, this doctor's office actually knew that they weren't collecting about 25% of their claims. So you can see how all that works there, and I'm going to blow this up just a little bit more so you can see it. Because the bottom line is, if you were to have built that relationship with that doctor and you got an opportunity to come back and share this, do you really think that you're having to sell the doctor anything? Because what they're going to look at is down there at the bottom, a projected dollar impact on the practice. There could be a 58% increase of revenue just by getting their billing out of their office. Do y'all see that? That could be another $10,000 a month, $122,000 for the year. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, nor does it take a medical doctor to figure out there is something seriously wrong with their current condition. Okay? Because let's just take it for as we are, folks. When we go to the doctor runs a few tests on that. We've got blood work that might be out of whack or something else comes back, and the doctor says, you know what? Here's the results. This is all this is. This is almost like a doctor's. We're doing labs on a doctor in their office. That's all this basically is, and this is the report that comes back to us. And the doctor takes that and looks at our blood work and go, oh man, Eric, you probably need to reduce your cholesterol intake. So you stop eating so much, red meat or whatever else that's out there. You need to start exercising and lose a little bit of weight. And here also take some of these pills and let's see if we can't help boost you and help getting that resolved there. Because if you don't, guess what's going to happen? You're going to collapse. Well, it's the same thing here, doctor. This is just your results. If you keep going on like you're going and you don't take the meds, the revenue cycle medicine here, you're just going to end up getting sicker and sicker and sicker with your financial end. Folks, what we're trying to do is heal those doctors and bring them to a position where, as you can see in the right-hand little corner, why doctors let money slip through their fingers, which is oh, by the way, Adam Phillips wrote a book on that, 9 Ways Doctors Let Money Slip Through Their Fingers. Let me tell you what I'm going to do for you today. Those that have stayed on here today, I'm going to tell you how to get a copy of this. What I want you to do is get back with your sales rep here of how you're working with whoever you're working with here at American Business Systems, and then go back to them and say, hey, Eric mentioned about a PDF copy, not a real book, but at least the PDF ebook copy of 9 Ways Doctors Let Money Slip Through Their Fingers, and read that book between now and next Wednesday, okay? Because it's going to give you a lot of information that you're going to need to know. So make sure that you do that.